Black like me. Black like me. Black like me.
You're listening to Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G., a podcast that invites you to experience the world through the perspective of one black man, one conversation, one story, or even one rant at a time. Here's Dr. G.
Hey, good people. Welcome to a new season of Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G. podcast. I'm excited to be back with this brand new season. We've got over 200 plus episodes in our back pockets, and we're really excited about moving ahead. Let me give you a little heads up about what we're going to be doing in season 12. I'm dropping a countdown bundle with several episodes that lead up to the opening of the Center for Black Excellence in Culture on May 6th. This is a project that I've been dreaming about for decades, planning for probably a decade and a half, raising money for the past 8 years. And now we're having our grand opening because we're about to open for business. We've raised $33 million in order to construct this debt-free facility. So I'm so excited about it, and I want you to understand why I'm so excited about it. And so I'm talking with various individuals who are so key in getting us to this point. And so I'm looking forward to having them here with me. Let me just say before I jump into the interview questions, we're living in such treacherous times. It has been an absolute joy to have something that distracts us from the craziness that's in the world. It doesn't mean that we're oblivious to it so that we don't feel the pain, but it is so nice to celebrate Black culture and history when and where so many people are worrying about the obliteration of Black history. We are proof that Black history will never go away because we are Black history. We are Black excellence. And so I'm excited to share the story of this center, this one-of-a-kind center that focuses on art, Black culture, technology, performances, reading, intergenerational programming, cultural celebrations, cultural gatherings in a way that's just real ice-breaking. And so in light of everything that's happening, in the face of everything that's happening, we've got joy, Black joy, in celebrating what's about to take place. So I want you to lean in and enjoy with us. With every episode in this bundle, there will be a link so that you can be a part of helping us make history by clicking that link and donating to the Center for Black Excellence in Culture. And believe it or not, you can be both a patron supporter. You can support Black Like Me podcast and the Center for Black Excellence in Culture. Those are two separate organizations, and you can support both of them without feeling as if you're duplicating your philanthropy. I've got two of the most creative people that I know in the studio today. One of them is my sister, Lilada. I won't use Reverend Lilada because she might slip with some swear words. But because this is going to go on the center website, we're going to have to keep it a little bit clean, Reverend. And we also have Mr. Rafeeq, thank you, Asad, who is the lead architect on this project. He works for JLA Architects. He's one of their vice presidents of team development. And we are really fortunate to have him here in our studios. Lilada has always been a partner of crime with me in designing so many things. Our church, Nehemiah. She actually helped me shape this podcast. Rafeeq came on the scene a little bit late after his boss, who's Joe Lee, who's the owner of JLA Architects, agreed to do some pro bono work for the center. I challenged him or invited him at a coffee shop. I said, as one Madisonian to the other, let's work together in making this community better, because a lot of people from out of town contribute, and we're glad that they do, but you and I were raised here, so let's do something together. He said, yeah, I can help you. And then at the very first meeting, I saw this tall brother walk in with dreads, and I was like, what's he doing in this meeting? Like, I've never seen him before, because I just assumed Joe's whole team was going to be white. And I didn't know that Joe was in the process of hiring Rafeeq.
Wow. As
we were talking. And so at our first official meeting, Rafeeq came in, and it just hit me that I'm going to be able to get some things out of this space into this space that I don't have to over-explain. Mm-hmm. And that just gave me a great sense of peace right from Jump Street. One other story I want to say before we jump into the questions, and letting them just introduce themselves a bit. When I pulled together Black stakeholders, we were presenting in the foyer of our church.
Oh gosh,
you remember that? Remember it? And then Rafeeq had the slides up, and the building doesn't really look like that anymore. It had these like preliminary things, and then you just stopped, and he said, "I'm sorry, I've never presented to a group of Black people before, to a entirely black group." And then people in the group said, "Well, we've never had a Black architect present to us." And from that moment, I knew that there was something magical about what we were about to do. That was how this started. That was our introduction, our foray into discussing this with the Black community. And so we have come so far from those designs. But when you think about the design now, and particularly the logo that the Heaving Group has done, and what that looks like, it's so different. This has evolved so much artistically, even from just our branding. So I'm so happy to have you both here. Lilada, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good today. Glad to be here.
I'm so glad that
And
you're
this
here.
is one of my favorite topics, so and my favorite architect. So
All right.
let's go.
Hey, Rafeeq, how are you doing today, young man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Sure, you're always got a mechanical pencil, or a protractor, all that fancy stuff that architects use, a drafting board. These are probably things that don't even exist anymore. Probably just have those as just sort of relics in your office.
Right.
But man, it's exciting to have you away from the design work, to have you behind a mic, just so we can get a chance to talk about what this means to you and all these other things. So do you two mind if I just jump right in?
Let's jump in.
No, let's do it. I'm excited. I'm kind of nervous to sit next to Miss Lilada, because when we get together,
Right.
stuff happens.
Oh, yes.
So, Rafeeq, so you coined a phrase, and it doesn't mean that you created it, but at least in my hearing, I never heard people talk about it until you said it. And you continue to talk about this concept of the Black aesthetic. So, the identity and philosophy of what we're doing. And so when you hear the phrase Black aesthetic, or when you say it, what were you saying to us? What did it mean to you, not just visually, but spiritually, culturally, historically, and what did you want to make sure you were infusing into this project?
That's a good question. I remember when we first started talking about the design, Miss Lilada was like, "I want it to be blackly black." And trying to conceive a concept of what that means was difficult, because it's a space, like you said, for and by us, but we want everybody, whether they know what the Black aesthetic is or not, to feel it. And in my mind, I think the Black aesthetic is something that's visceral. And I'll give you an example. This morning, randomly, I was listening to Roland Martin on a podcast or a clip, and he was interviewing a white guy, and they were disputing whether Egyptians were Africans or not. And Roland was like, "Well, where is Egypt?" And the guy was like, "It's in North Africa." He's like, "Africa," which means Egyptians are African. What he was trying to say was, all of the things that came out of Egypt, the intelligence, the math, that wasn't Black. And when you look at the Black aesthetic, it's something that's innate in us. It's visceral, and you can't take it from us. It's It's that feeling, like you said, spiritual, culturally. Like when you walk in this door, you feel something different than if you were at the Chase and or some of those other museums. You see the colors and the pattern. You feel that culture just come alive in the textures and the angles and all of those things. So it's something, the Black aesthetic is something that it's hard to define, but you feel it. You feel the angles. You know that wasn't placed in that corner just haphazardly. Like that's a part of how we move through spaces.
Yes. I seem to remember you saying, and let me know if I'm remembering this incorrectly, that part of your master's work you talked about Black aesthetic, or am I remembering that? Is that wrong?
No, right. We did a course in characteristics of Negro expression, which talked about not just architecture, but Black life. How certain things we do, tendencies of Black people to have angular hair and, that half bob or the Gumby and different things, like asymmetrical things, overalls off to one side, the chair in the corner in grandma's house angled for no reason
pants
whatsoever.
on backwards.
Things like that. And so we talk about in literature how we skip beats and the way that we move and all express ourselves. So the Black aesthetic is born out of those characteristics of Negro expression.
Do you think that this our place, our center, is a case study of the Black aesthetic? Do you think
absolutely.
we fulfilled what you all were talking about in concept? Do you feel like you've created that?
Absolutely, from the patterns, from the drama, the rhythm, the colors, the sizes of the space, the openness, and the natural light coming in. You can't move through this space and not feel that.
Yes. Mr. Lady, we're going to say something?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I'm putting in different like touches of things around the center right now. And I was walking through the executive office and I said, and I came back to what I saw, and it was a ledge that I put an elephant up there.
You did that.
Yeah. And so it would, who else would have done it?
Janine.
Anywho, but
She's a Delta.
True.
So I thought she put it up there because of that.
I did too.
yeah, no, I put it up there.
Okay.
Because of that. But Rafeeq comes through. He sees the elephant. He says, "See, I told them." Well, you know what you told them. You want to share what you said to the people?
It was a random ledge, and I was like, well, everybody else was like, well, what are we going to do with that? I was like, watch, they're going to find something to put there.
And that's what happened.
And we never talked about it. Never remember even noticing it. But just one day I'm walking to the space. I said, I could put something up there.
And when I saw it, I thought, that's beautiful. And I never noticed the ledge until that when I'm walking through noticing so many things.
Yeah.
Lilada, Rafeeq quoted you in stating that you want this center to feel blickety-black. And I want you to know that is in my notes. that is one of my questions to you. So when you hear the phrase blickety-black, what does it mean to you? Not just visually, but spiritually, culturally, historically.
Yeah. So Blickity-Blackness, I think I'm pretty unique in my definition experience of Blackness because I have traveled so much throughout the African diaspora. I've been to most places that we ended up. And having had that experience.
And you're including South America, because a lot of people don't think about Black experience. Are you including
Right.
South America when you say that? And the Caribbean?
Well, most specifically, I'm talking about Brazil.
Okay, Brazil.
But South America, absolutely.
Central America, Caribbean.
We're there. Central America, we're absolutely there. And of course, the Caribbean. And I think that because when I travel, I'm always looking for Blackness because I collect Black artifacts. And I'm always looking for them. I'm always surprised where I find things. Like I was in Argentina and I found droves of African artifacts there because they've tried to bury Blackness and Black people in Argentina. Like a lot of Latin countries, Cuba, Brazil, when slavery ended, they went on a definitive intervention to whiten Cuba and stuff. And so I've seen Blackness in all of its states of expression, and I resonate with it. I don't feel othered by it. Even though people feel othered by me, I see Blackness and I'm like, family.
Sure.
And so when I thought of Blackness and talking about the center, I really, early on in our conversations, it was about African American Center. And I really wanted to do the Black Center because of the experiences I had had with the variety of ethnic Blackness. We don't think about ethnic Blackness, we just think Black. And so when I say blickety-black, black, black, I mean all of it. The spiciness from Jamaica, the African influence in Brazil. I'm talking about, the hospitality of the Dominican Republic. All of these things is what Black means to me. And I want to see all of that in the center.
Sure. I'm talking with my co-founder, Lilada, co-founder and sister Lilada, and our chief architect, Rafeeq, on what Black aesthetic and blickety-blackness means to them. Lilada, I remember sitting down this corridor when you first introduced the concept of Blackness. And because Blackness and African-American culture have been so conflated, I didn't understand what you were saying when you had mentioned making it Black. So I just thought, well, that's taking our national connection and identity away. But when I was, and I've talked about this on the podcast, when we were on a trip with Year of Return in 2019, where about 300 Black folks, at least on our trip, went back to West Africa, and we were sitting in a slave dungeon, and a griot was telling the stories of how our ancestors lived in that space and how they were treated. I won't go into all the grotesque details, but we did get to see the door of no return. And he said to us, "You Black Americans are the descendants. You are the strongest of our strongest descendants." Something like that. Like you're the strongest of the strong of our descendants. And 500 years later, you've returned to the motherland to show the strength of Mother Africa and that you all have survived. We honor you. You are victorious. And that was a spiritual moment. You know, sometimes you hear people say you feel this shift, something that's visceral. It was. I felt something. It was more than just wanting to cry. It wasn't a sentimental moment. What he said spoke to my soul. What he said connected me as an African American with Africa in a way I've never felt connected. Because for many of us as African Americans, we've wondered how Africans would see us.
Right.
Because in the United States, we don't necessarily play nice, as you hear me say, in the sandbox.
Right.
We're told things about them, they're told stuff about us, and a lot of the times those things are told to us by white people, about who to stay away from and what they think. And we personalize those things. And so I remember sitting there after he made that statement, and I said, I don't know exactly how this vision of this space that I'm working on in Madison is going to evolve, but I know that it can't be called African American. It must be called Black, so that it honors the whole Pan-African movement. And then I started to understand what you were saying. I just thought you were just trying to use either words that were politically correct or purposely not politically correct. I didn't understand that. But the connection between us was Africa, and it's Blackness, because people left that room and went to Brazil and went to Europe and went to the Caribbean. They didn't all just go to the U.S. More captured African people went to Brazil than North America. And so how do we connect with that? Not because of the weakness or the struggle or the transatlantic slave trade or that journey, but because of our strength and our endurance. And something shifted in me, and I wanted to bring that aha, that enlightenment back into this space, so that when people walk in, they do that. And I got to tell you, and we'll get into this in just a bit, but people do feel that when I'm walking people through, and let me just remind you, if you're in the Madison area, or if you're within 3 hours drive of Madison, 5 hours drive of Madison, make a day out of it. On May 6th, from 2 to 6 p.m., we're going to have a walkthrough so you can see this beautiful state-of-the-art, one-of-its-kind spaces here in the U.S. But when you stand back in the gallery and look to the west, like down towards the recording studio, I keep telling people, okay, do you see this wall is straight, but this one's at an angle. So it has this optical illusion that it's longer. The stairs start very narrow, then they widen as you go up. The overhangs have these angles that are mirrored in the polished cement. You know, those angles. And when people look at it, they'll say, oh, yeah, I see it. But more importantly than just what people see, they feel it. I took a colleague, she's been on this show, Dr. Angela Byers-Winston. I took her on a short tour, and she walked into our special lounge space upstairs, and she stopped. She looked down like she was trying to capture her breath, like she was saying, wait, let me capture this. 'Cause I was like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. She just stopped. And we went from like touring my friend, she had like this spiritual moment. She said, how do I say this? I feel held right now. After she said, looking over, you know, that stained glass area, that she said, this is exquisite. And when I hear the comments, I take note.
Wow.
She said exquisite. But
And
when
it
It is. But when she went into the club and she stopped, she said, I feel held.
Wow.
She said, because we're always trying to get back home, which starts with a baby in the mother's womb, where you're held and nurtured. She says, that's how I feel. And I realized, wow, that wasn't about the art on the walls, because all the art's not up
There's
there.
no art on the walls.
There's no art on the walls.
It's the feeling, like somehow with the work particularly that you two did with the designs and angles and later with colors and flavors, it's in there. It is. I've gone in places where I said this doesn't feel right, and I've had to get out of it. I've left a bed and breakfast because I felt like something murderous took place in that space. But when you walk
It did.
in,
I stayed at that same.
We both, without even being there,
Bed
both
and
said something.
breakfast.
Somebody died. Somebody hurt somebody up in that
Oh
place.
yeah. Oh yeah.
But you two you work to bring these things, together. Lilada, we look at some of the colors, like particularly in some of the staining on the windows. You got so much pushback. Do you remember the conversation when you said you wanted leopard print in the women's center, and we looked at you as if you had Martian antenna coming out your head? Do you remember that?
Yes.
I was one of them. I was like, Lord, please don't let my sister come up here bringing leopard print, because I don't want this to look like, West African Village at Disney or something.
Right. I remember the pushback, and it's like, I don't know if that exists. I was like, I know it exists because I told them I had seen commercial animal print carpeting before.
Sure. Yeah, you did.
So I said, I know it exists somewhere. I said, but what I will tell you, when everybody was looking shocked and like, oh my God, I said, what I know is that when Black women walk in this room and they see that leopard print, they're going to immediately know this space is for me.
So then a year and a half later,
Yes.
a Black woman who's in our Nehemiah Justified Anger Leadership Institute was part of a tour and walked into your space. She's the lady who actually catered the event. What did she do when she walked in and saw the leopard print?
Laid down on it.
So she
I haven't even done that.
she got down on, like she didn't say
Really?
anything, like she was having a spiritual moment. She got down and lay on the floor.
Yes, she did.
Wow.
She did for
Yes, she
like
did.
5 minutes.
Because I side-eyed the leopard print too. I ain't gonna.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
we
know
all-
wait a
you
minute.
did. I felt it.
Leopard print.
It was like, wait, what? Oh.
But it's a year and a half later, and you said when a sister walks in, she's going to know that the room, whether she's into leopard print or not.
Right.
Your point was she will know. You're trying to mark the territory.
Yes.
That they will walk in, they would know that this isn't just a space that was backfilled, that it was designed
Yes.
for them, and you saw it happen. Talk to me a little bit about the prophetic nature of Black women in particular, when it's about leadership or art or the appropriateness of stuff, and the pushback you get, because aside from Rafeeq, you're dealing with white women and white men who are helping to look at these decisions, and probably had other organizations in their mind, other credible
They had worked with,
that
and
they have
things like
worked
that.
with. Just talk just for a moment about what that's like as a Black woman trying to speak Black truth in spaces that are hungry supposedly for Black belonging. Then when it shows up and speaks, people freak out or don't
Yeah.
understand it.
Yeah. First of all, the rooms that I was in, the meetings that I was in, I'm mostly certain that most of those men had never met with a Black woman that was there at their level. Probably not professionally met with a Black woman at all in terms of peers. And so that was always interesting space to enter as a Black woman, because I don't think people really understand that other than home, and sometimes not home, and church, there is no place that Black women go in these Americas where we feel like it was made for us, where we feel like we belong, where we feel like we are safe and comfortable to be our full self. There is no place that we feel that. And so wanting to create space that was broad, macro is the whole place, but then wanting to create this micro space in the women's center that went even further into being unapologetic about being a Black woman and creating that space and imagining what it could be, but then now starting to have Black women come into the space and see their reaction. It's just, it is spiritual, it is cultural, it is affirming, because like I said, there are not places for us, and even places where Black men are welcomed, we're not.
No, that's you mean like stadiums or business settings?
Or white women's homes. It's just not the same. Like a white woman will be in a relationship with a Black man, but won't know any Black women, will not have any Black women friends. And so what I'm saying is almost any place that you could imagine, and even with Black men, it's different. Like when my son at like 14 moved out to go stay with his dad in Seattle, I knew he was going to be fine. He was handsome, and he was tall, and he was athletic
And smart.
and smart. I knew he was going to go to this very new school and not have any problems because all the guys would want to know him because he's cool, and all the girls want to be with him. Now, I'm biased because that's my son. You know what I'm saying? But I knew for him it was going to be different. If it had been my daughter, it would have been a whole nother scenario for her. It wouldn't have been that welcoming. It wouldn't have been that. It's just harder for us as Black women to fit into spaces, and we get tired of trying to fit into spaces, and we get tired of trying to be appropriate. You know, we get attacked for having hair that wearing our hair the way it grows out of our scalp. Who else is that scrutinized? Black men are not that scrutinized. No other woman is scrutinized about wearing her hair like it grows out of her head. So trying to find a space and a place for us is always hard, where you can really. And so that's what I really wanted to create.
And you did, you have. Rafeeq, now I sort of noticed that at some point you changed teams because you came in with sort of a corporate perspective. You didn't want the place to be too colorful. You
Right.
didn't want to be like the circus, like dun 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 dun. You didn't want to be like Bozo Circus.
Right.
But at some point you did shift and you started affirming the things that Lilada was pushing, and it some of that you may have seen as well. But also I felt like there was a point where she wasn't the only one saying, we got to do these things. This is important for understanding Blackness or celebrating Blackness. And it seemed as if you helped to push the envelope in explaining why we needed the ledge, the angles, the colors. Is that just the way we read it? Or was there a point where you just thought, let me lean into what this Black woman is saying about
Because
our
she ain't
community?
gonna stop talking about it. All my life, I had to fight for color.
No, yeah, I think there's a little bit of that. I think it was more when you talk about the Black aesthetic, and we're in Wisconsin in the Midwest, and even in architecture, interior design, there's not a lot of people that look like us,
Right.
as you've learned through this process. But
Right.
when you bring other people to the table that are not Black, and you want them to dive into and help portray the Black aesthetic, this is foreign to them. It's foreign to a lot of us. So for somebody outside of the Black culture to subscribe to it and then portray it accurately, you have to have a caution. And my caution initially was, when we say Black, it does not mean tribal. There's so much Blackness that's not just tribal Africa and huts. And I didn't want everything to be straw and
Sure.
twine.
I remember you
and
saying that.
I wanted, because I remember you guys said early on, you went on the trip.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
saw
to
something.
Milwaukee.
No. In the trip to Africa,
Oh,
you
okay.
stayed in hotels that were like 5-star
They were
hotels.
Oh, my
opulent.
God.
So it wasn't
like
tribal.
7-star.
It was nice, and you
Right.
can have things that relate to Africa, that relate to Blackness, that could still be cultural and not be cheap or swap meet. Like we want it to be opulent and nice, and like you said, Angela came in space. We want that feeling from people to say this is a nice space.
Yeah.
And so I was more concerned about that. But once everybody realized that this is going to be a nice building, not just a Black building.
And there is a difference in people's perception.
Yeah,
I was
yes.
able to kind of come off that guard a little bit, and now to say that, okay, yes, we need the other elements. We need the bold colors. We need this, that, and the other. And I think a lot of pushback happened throughout the process because, like people say, we aren't used to building that. We have floating stairs. And they were like, no, we want posts up under these stairs. Oh,
I remember I mentioned that on every tour.
really?
This is a 14,000-pound staircase. This is a 22,000 pound staircase. There are no posts underneath it, so I mentioned that on almost every tour.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I had to fight for that because they was like, it's easier to just put some structure under there. But I'm like, no, let's be
So
creative.
that was your idea. It's beautiful.
Let's be creative and find a way to make this cantilever so that we can use the space under there.
Yeah.
All of these alcoves and all of that's about how we move.
Mm-hmm.
We want to sit under stuff. We want to feel protected and yeah.
And I watched people. We just had a kickoff event. We hosted a district anniversary for my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha. But people stood around. They sat at these tables. We have a competing fraternity here, but we're all on Team Center right now. We're all wearing green, red, yellow.
Right.
But I
black.
still got on a little purple and gold.
Come on. But people did stand around. And if we had the cushions on underneath the staircase, people would have been sitting there.
Well, some people were sitting anyway.
Or were they? Yes. Yeah. But people just huddled up in that space and enjoyed being there. There's one space where on one level where we have a screen that's the shape of Africa. And we had two consultants, real reputable group out of Atlanta. And they were trying to talk me out of that screen because, they were saying
too much on the nose.
Yes, and it seems like too much of a novelty, and it's an over gesture, and it's not. I listened to them because we flew them all the way in to listen to them. So as soon as they finished, I said, give me my African shaped monitor, because I knew what I wanted. But then you walked through and you looked at it, and you said, you know what? I was kind of pushing back on that. It's such a nice touch. So let me ask you, were you surprised at how hard Lilada and I pushed with some of the white folks and vendors and folks around the table? Because again, you never represented a Black project, but I'm curious what some of your early thoughts might have been when we would say, nope, we're not moving on this. Nope, we got to have this shape monitor. Were you surprised, or did you come in thinking we would be that resolute on what we wanted?
I don't think I was surprised because, as the client, that's your project.
Right.
You get what you want. Whether the person that's designing it or fabricating it agrees or not, it's the client's project. I wasn't surprised. I'm glad that you did. Like you said with the leopard, when you know.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know what this is going to do. You don't have to know. And I think we experienced a lot of that throughout the whole project. We have a vision, and you might not understand it, but sometimes it might not be for you to understand.
Exactly.
Let's just get with the vision. But I think overall we had a great team, from
yes, we did.
Furniture to interior design and storytelling, and I think everybody bought into the vision and worked to the best of their capabilities to make it come about. And I think it came out great. I couldn't have asked for a better team and client group to work with on a project like this.
Wow. Man, that's so great to hear, and we feel that it would not have been the same.
And it was fun. Like,
yes, it
was fun.
We've had a blast.
We went to Chicago together to go to a merchandise mart. We would bring in food together. We would have some tense and terse moments, but no one ever left the table. We'd come right back. I remember there was one point where I know that I'm a type of person who I'm comfortable working in social service, civil rights kinds of settings, but my grounding is really spiritual and theological. I'm a pastor at my calling. These other things are outgrowth of that. And I knew that my office needed to be close to that beautiful patio because the office I've been using for the past 30 plus years had one. And it's where I go out and meditate and get ideas and clear my head, listen to the hum of traffic. And so when I said, I don't know what the office structure needs to be, but I need to be close to that patio, people kind of joked and laughed and like, well, things like, well, do you want a shower in it? What else do you want in it? I remember telling some of the subcontractors, I said, listen, you can laugh at what my friend, it was a white friend, you can laugh at what he's saying or not, if you want to, but I'm signing these checks.
No, that's right.
And y'all better put my office on that damn porch.
Okay.
So I can go out there and talk to the Lord.
Right. Put my damn office on that damn porch so I can go out there and pray.
And my office is up there on that damn porch.
Yes,
I can go out there and do my business. But like it was interesting and pushing for those kinds of things. But now it's there. You get a chance to walk through. And let me tell you, some of the big talk has been the money we've raised to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
But when people walk inside, it's the angles, it's the shapes, it's the polished concrete, which I didn't understand at first. When you first started talking about that, Rafeeq, I didn't get it. But dang, they reflect.
Mm-hmm.
And the later they talk about the pop. They talk about the orange sofas, gold and yellow sofas, the kinds of things that we brought into the spaces. How does it feel to have seen something, for you, Rafeeq, like one-dimensionally, maybe eventually three-dimensionally on paper? What does it feel like to see stuff? Is it brighter? Is it stronger? Is it cooler than how you imagined it? And Lilada, I'll start with you. With some of the colors and things that we push for. Y'all remember all them discussions about fabrics and
Oh, yes.
colors for furniture. And can we do gold? Can we do purple? Can we do this? How does it feel to see
You
something
see
that
those
was a
colors he
concept?
named?
That's
was
what?
You saw those colors he named?
Black and gold.
Oh, yes, I did.
I'll let you have some purple, Rafeeq.
Yes.
Don't make me take it out now.
Oh,
be thankful and be
my.
humble. Don't make me take it out.
Be humble.
Because I got blue right over there. I got blue right over there in the corner. You go ahead, Liz. So what does it feel like to see the design?
Well, it's quite interesting because, we were part of the architectural design, in terms of giving you feedback, Rafeeq, and how about this, how about that, to what you were proposing to us, which was a very unique experience to have. But over like 2 and 3 years of seeing the layout, it did nothing compared to when I first walked in that building and the walls are up and furniture is in there. Like, I just wasn't even prepared. I go to the center, do my work, I go home, I go to sleep, and I can't wait to wake back up so I can do it all over again. Like, I cannot wait to get back to the center. The energy that I feel there, the safeness, the feeling of home that I feel there is really amazing. And I think one of the things that was important for me is when I started working with this project, I was my mid-50s. And it makes a difference because I was at a place like being comfortable with my own voice, my own opinions, like I have never been in life. And I feel like if I had been younger, I might have like allowed the pushback to stop me from saying it again. And what I learned on this project, like no other time, is that I have to say something probably 10 to 15 times before it's really heard. And once I kind of peaked that game, then I would know, say it again, but not today. Wait a couple weeks, say it again. Wait a month, say it again, say it again. And that's how I really pushed through with some of the pushback. And I think it's just important when you're doing something like this to know what it is that you want, or at least to know when you feel it, because maybe you don't go into knowing everything, but to know that what you feel is the right thing, the best thing, and to be able to stay true to yourself. And I think my level of maturity gave me the strong voice and fortitude and thick skin that I needed for this project.
Rafeeq, have you had an opportunity to bring fellow architects or even architectural students to the center and get responses from them?
Not since it's been complete. We are planning to do that in the near future. Have a tour for some Wisconsin architects, American Institute of Architects, and the National Organization of Minority Architects to see it. We did it when it was still under construction, and even then,
Kind of remember one of
the
those
designers, especially the designers from JLA, all 3 offices, they came through and they were just like, "Oh wow, this is gonna be nice," because a lot of times, and we had these projects, budget. It's all about the budget, and a lot of things get value engineered out.
Right.
We can't afford to do that. We can't afford to do that. For some reason, we did not have a lot of that, and this is one of the few projects where we did not have a lot of "no, you can't do this." I think what was special for me,
no, you can't because of budget.
What was special for me was, we're not going to cut no onions in here, but the level of trust that was bestowed in me as the architect to like take your vision and then make it happen. Like,
yeah,
it wasn't like, "Well, why are you doing that?" It was like, "Oh, okay, I see you." And if I don't see you, I kind of think you know what you're doing. I'm gonna let you go with it, and that doesn't happen. And to be a designer or an architect and be allowed to freely express the client's vision, and they trust that you trust what they want, and you're going to do the best that's in your ability to give them the product that they need. And some things you might not even realize I need it this way, but you're like, well, he's doing that for a reason. And to just have me go, that doesn't happen. That does not happen.
Well, to be quite honest, I think at a point, once we got to know you, you were on our team.
That's right. That's very
You weren't
true.
on their team anymore. You was on our team. And that's the wonderful thing about Blackness, right? When we find that commonality and we connect, you just like one of my cousins now. And I was very sure that you worked this design like you was on your last, as Future said, like you was on your last damn dollar. It was like you weren't, if you acted as if you weren't ever going to design another building. Like this was it. And I felt like you were fully committed and fully pouring yourself into it. And I felt like you were as committed as we were to bring forth this Black, beautiful building and that vision. And I think we just became a team. You just worked for the other team.
Well, that's the strength of bringing Black people to the table. And people don't
Exactly.
understand that because we didn't worry about you going in saying, and we're not saying all white business people say this, but we
Right.
never feared about someone going in saying, leopard print. Like,
Right.
we can't do that. Let's let them say it. I think at some point you realize this is important to the client. This is important to Blackness. And I feel like you really pushed because you realized this building wasn't for us being Alex, Lilada, Jason, our team. This building was for Black people. And so you were on our team because you had to design something that you and your friends can come into.
Mm-hmm.
Could you have a birthday party here? Could you have a graduation party in here? Could you bring Black architects from all around the country? Even if you haven't thought about this, you should. Could you hold a training, a symposium, a workshop where you talk about this experience and use the whole building as a case study?
Yeah.
It became
Love that.
it became very apparent that you were looking at the big picture. And if we were experiencing that much joy and Blackness at the design, we had no doubt. The other thing is the reason we designed so freely, we never doubted whether or not Black people would use the space. I remember somebody asking us, they were on some of the early planning team, are there enough Black people
My God.
to make the center work? I said, I don't know if I said this to them, but there's enough Black people to make the prison system work.
My God.
Special education work.
Hello.
Law enforcement work.
Hey.
And so, of course, there's enough Black people. Plus, you're thinking of African American. There's this whole diaspora. I mean, we're working
Right.
with people from Africa, from the Caribbean,
Right.
who are working with us. And so, lady, you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was going to throw in the fact that because you are part of the Black community in Madison, you couldn't get away with f***ing us up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you had to do us right because it wasn't just that you were accountable to us. You were accountable to the whole Black community.
Yes.
And if you didn't do us right, the community would have held you accountable.
Oh, absolutely.
Or in contempt.
That's
Yeah.
one of the things. Like I remember that first meeting. I said this is the first time presenting in front of a room full of Black people as shareholders and stakeholders. That was a little bit nervous for me, but it wasn't necessarily that. It was like you said, like if this don't look good, they gonna tell you quickly and directly. And so
You see that building?
That's
Rafeeq design?
Right. But to your point, being a part of this community, I absolutely leaned into that. Knowing that we stage Juneteenth here at Fountain of Life, and so we need outdoor spaces that can accommodate festivals and things like that. Being a part of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, knowing that we have programming and we need spaces that can accommodate signature events for the AKAs and the Deltas and the Alphas, where we can have these celebrations. So
That
we
helped
have to,
knowing that you knew that.
yeah, we have to
Yes.
accommodate, and that's like design justice, right? That's a principle that we're really big on at JLA, but I think all architects that should be big on, where you design with the client, not for the client. Like I can't come into a women's group and tell them how their space should be run,
Right.
because I'm not a woman, but I am a Black person designing a Black space, so I innately know how we move and operate, the things that we need to do, how we need to set up interior spaces, because we don't like to be all up on each other. Give me a little bit of personal space, how the outside should move and how much shade we need, because we like to be outside, but we ain't trying to bake, right? We don't tan.
We fought on that patio where I said, no, I don't want the pergola. Like, no, you're going to need something to keep that sun off.
So that made it even easier, and it made it even more exciting because I knew that, we're going to start having these events. And like you said, we don't have a space in Madison where we can go that's ours, that looks like it was designed for us. We go to these different places and it look like somebody's guest room or something with all these
stuff. All these no, that's yes.
Yeah.
As people have walked through the center, they've said, I don't know what I expected, but I did not expect this. And this has come from Black and non-Black folks. So I'm curious, do you think that the community's come to expect less when it comes to Black spaces? And how does it feel to disrupt that expectation with our designers?
Love that question.
I think I think people in general, not just community, everything Black is less. Black service, you don't expect the best service. You always think it's going to be a little hood. It's going to be a little ghetto. Black spaces, Black thought, Black intelligence. Everything is a little bit under the status quo. Oh, I didn't expect this to be that good, or I didn't expect them to, hit that note on. It's just that's something we just have to get out of. Where thinking that we're less than without even giving the opportunity to prove that we are what we are. So I think in general that's the case, but I think when you have Black people at the table, that's the beauty of diversity. You allow people to show what they bring to the table and how they can contribute in ways that you never imagined, because we all come with our with our personal experiences, and we can share those elements. And so,
Lilada, what does this mean for Madison?
Ooh.
And then while you're doing that, Rafeeq, I want you to think about how this sets Madison aside or raises Madison up for other mid-sized cities around the country that we've sent a message to the Black community about what we can do. But Lilada, what does this space mean for the community, especially right now?
We talk about the Black community and Black family and things of that nature, but when a lot of times we're really talking about Black women and their children and their welfare. And so I'm going to look at it from the perspective of what this means to Black women who are raising Black children in this community. If you have 2 Black sons, statistically, one of them is going to prison. So what it means to me, and I think for us as Black women, is going to be finding a place where we can exhale, finding a place where we don't have to face microaggressions. We face them everywhere we go, at work. We face them when we go to the doctor, all of these things. And to be able to make sure that we're better, that Black women are better. When we're better, we're going to raise stronger, healthier children. We're going to have healthier relationships, and not just like marriage or, romantic relationships, but this even within the community. So it's going to mean healing, and it's going to mean, I know I'm feeling a hard time. I just had a bad doctor's visit. I just had a rough day at work, and I'm overwhelmed. What can I do? Go to the Center for Black Excellence and Culture, and I'll know that I'll find community there. I know I'll be restored. I'll be lifted up. And so what it means for this Black community is healing. It means affirmation. It means that you are now being taken seriously as an artist. You are now being taken seriously as a podcaster. You are now being taken seriously at whatever it is that your Black self does in this community. It matters to us. And, also being an artist, and I often talk about my experience when I worked on the murals on State Street during 2020, after the killing of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, that we, out of the woodworks, came over 100 Black artists, and we didn't even know we existed to one another.
100.
Over 100, and we didn't even know we existed to each other. And though the space was created by the city of Madison for us as Black artists to express and grieve what we were feeling over what was going on, we literally had to fight white women in particular from coming down there and taking over the spaces that were for us to paint.
And painting over them.
Or painting over, or this woman actually told me, when I told her to stop painting, she literally told me, well, you guys can paint over it. So now you're going to give us extra work? This isn't for you. So we couldn't even have pieces of crappy plywood to paint over. Like, we could even have that. Well, I'm going to be painting a quote from Maya Angelou. I told her, how you know that's what we want right now or we need to hear? But after that project, and we had hundreds of murals, there was no place for them to go. Can you imagine what it's like being part of something so big that this went around the world, what we did on State Street?
Yes, it did.
President Obama's personal photographer came here and took pictures. I think it was Julia Roberts commented on the pictures he took. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was worldwide. But when we were done, nobody wanted our art. It was no place to go.
You mean no place to be stored?
No place to be stored. A lot of our stuff ended up just being thrown out. If it wasn't stolen by building owners, it was thrown out as garbage. Can you imagine what that's like to have something so monumental happen in your life? It was like a Woodstock moment, like all those kind of cultural experiences that you've seen throughout the decades. It was like one of those moments where we're down there painting and people are just coming down the street with Starbucks drinks and giving it to us and Chick-fil-A food and do you need anything? Are you okay? And have this community and all this to nobody believes that what you've created here has value.
And
it sucked the air out. So what it means is the things we do, there is now a space for us. We ain't got to ask permission. There's space for us to value us and what we create and what we produce. That's going to create a reverberation of creation. It's going to be like Harlem Renaissance. Like once, you had Gene Toomer writing, and then, James Baldwin came writing. Oh, we write now? Oh, we're painting now? Oh, let's paint. Let's write. Let's draw. Let's create. That's what it means for Madison.
And that's why we have a
and
gallery.
Beyond.
And that's why we have a gallery in our space and art room so that artists can actually come and create works. And we will showcase the works of Black artists and photographers from all over the state. In response to that travesty of what took place on State Street, that we can actually we can have exhibits and we can showcase the work of Black folks. That's brilliantly said.
I do right quick wanted to shout out American Family, who took it upon themselves to take a picture of every piece of art and represent it in the most beautiful coffee table book. Had they not done it, I think we would wonder, did that happen?
That was great. That will get back to them. Thank you for that. Rafeeq, what does this space mean for the region?
I think it tells other locations that it's not only something that's necessary, but that it can be done and it can be done successfully. And I think, when you talk about DEI and inclusion, the whole premise is that when we all get better, we all do better. It's not just, this is the center, and so just Black people benefit. This is going to have a benefit for the entire city, region, because those things, like Lilada just said, it will trickle down. Like the term trickle down. It'll spread to other groups, and I think that it's definitely going to help Madison. I remember a couple months ago when we were working on something towards the completion of the construction, and random people, I think it was a couple of tours came through, and it was me and Janine and Jason and you, and it turned into this think tank haphazardly. We were just sitting around the kitchenette talking about something.
Yeah.
And it went from Black experience to healthcare to And I was like, this is a commercial for the center. This is what's going to happen when people come
Yeah.
and they have other people that look like them, that have similar experiences, where they can just connect and be.
Yeah. Can I throw out something right quick? One thing I want to say to you, Rafeeq, is that I feel like over the time, we really develop a special rapport. And I don't know how you were raised, but I can tell you were raised to respect Black women. And that really came through, because there were times when no one in the room heard me but you. And I just appreciate that so much. I remember we were going back and forth about whether or not we were going to do the mask wall that I wanted to do. And at one time during the meeting, Rafeeq just looked at me. He leaned over. He said, I got you. We're going to get that mask wall in there. I got you. Don't worry about it. After that, I absolutely did not worry about it. But I appreciate that, because my brother, of course, he's going to respect me.
But I didn't want that mask wall.
But you did not want that mask wall. I had to say, I think I said that more than 15 times. You did not want it. But I'm saying just a Black man that I didn't know.
Respecting.
And there's so many things that we could talk about, relationships within the Black community and how we get along, blah, 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 blah. But it was just such a beautiful example of a Black man respecting a Black woman and her thoughts and her opinions, both professionally and culturally, and all those things that I just truly appreciate about you.
Oh, thank you.
Except when you fought me on color.
And I didn't have to understand it. It wasn't for me to understand, because a lot of it wasn't for me. Especially in terms of the women saying, like, if that's what she wants, she's going to get what she wants. She has a vision that we don't. There's no other Black women in here at the table, so we can't identify to that. So,
and you actually said that. You said that out loud, so people could hear.
Get off my back! Give me my leopard rug.
So listen, we're winding down. We've got 90 seconds. Each of us will have 30 to just talk about what our hope is for the future with the center. And for me, I'll just jump in by saying, in the next 10, 20, 30 years, I'm hoping that this will cause a cultural revival of how Black people see ourselves and organize and lead. I envision people moving to Madison because they want to be in an affirming space where they can experience all of what we've designed, what we've discussed today. And my vision is that thought leaders and artists will come to Madison to learn from what we've done and be inspired and take it back to their countries and around the world.
Yeah.
Rafeeq, what do you envision or hope for the center 10, 20, or 30 years down the road?
Well, sooner than that, I'm ready for phase 2. So
yeah, come on.
Let's get ready to do that. But no, I agree. I think that
That's trying to give me a heart attack.
For me, it's going to be to me, it's already been transformational from a career perspective. This has been the most significant project of my career.
Wow.
But I think that it's going to be that for the city of Madison. The foundation is there, the spaces are there to where it's for everybody, and it's the mission is different. It's not an economic thing. It's a wellness thing all around. It's holistic in terms of entertainment, in terms of culture, in terms of community education. So I'm excited, not just because I helped with a little part of it, but just to be a part of the community that can use it.
Yes, absolutely.
How about you, Lilada? What hopes do you have for the future of the center?
I hope for a greater sense of wellness for Black people in this community. Having a safe place that you can go changes the trajectory of your life. If you think about it from the perspective of an unhealthy or an abusive relationship, and Madison feels very much so like an abusive relationship as a Black person. Being able to have that safe place, you exhale deeper than you ever have because you forget that it's even possible anymore to be safe. And I want us to be reminded as Black people, one, that we are family. I don't care where you come from. And then two, that we create safety for ourselves and for other Black folks in that space.
Wow. I was having a conversation today with Jason, who's our chief strategy officer. And I said something to him, but basically, whether or not I do it, I realize that the Center for Black Excellence in Culture is not the greatest dream or idea I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe in my dreams. I believe in being able to carry out stuff that comes to my heart, my soul, and my mind. I believe in myself as a force to be reckoned with in a way that I never have. And if people can feel just an inkling of that by coming into the space and being around sharp Black folks, I think that's really, really key.
Yes.
So that's my hope. My other hope is that folks like you two will hold national symposia where you talk about art and design and the pushback. I think, and I'll say this even if, Joe is listening, your boss, there's work that you do that is JLA related, but you've transcended just as the role of just a staff architect. Just like I'm more than just a CEO of the center. Beyond what I do here, there's a need nationally and internationally for my intellect, for my insight, for my wisdom, and for my ability to get stuff done. And the center is going to push me out to share that. Mm-hmm. And I hope that you're not afraid when it pushes you out. And I hope that you don't feel like you need to ask for permission. We got to get it scheduled. But you need to start convening Black architects and design and draft people to come through here and act like a Black Frank Lloyd Wright. You need to really own that space, because people will come in who will say, I worked with Rafeeq and this is what he would have done and this is what he said. I really want you to own that space. And then later, I think as an artist who's also an activist, and the proliferation of Black women that displays itself in color and design, I think organizations that want to do more than just reach out to Black people, but women or whatever the groups may be, you know how to think creatively. When we do great stuff, it's easy to think, well, Rafeeq knows how to draw Black buildings and Lilada knows how to inspire Black women. But you knew how to pull color out to meet our goal, which means that you could help architects and construction companies and hospitals and school districts think about their client and how do they represent that. You painted murals in schools in Verona, where the administrator said Black and brown girls walked in and saw themselves on the walls and said, oh, because they saw themselves. And so I hope that you all use this as a platform to think about yourselves more largely than this, because 10, 20, 30 years from now, you can and should be talking about the center, but you should also be talking about other industries that you've had an impact on. And so I hope that you dream and think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to push for that because you don't see it that way. You're just doing what you do.
Right. No, but you have to do. One of my frat brothers called me the other night and just said, you need to just go park across the street and look at what you did. He said, because I think because you go up in there every day, you don't realize it.
I drive by and park up there in the apartments.
I thought I saw you across Diamonds, kid.
I do.
I look like Rafeeq.
I want to park over there at who's 1901? They do our HVAC. Because from their parking lot, you can see the building well, particularly at night, because you can't take pictures at nighttime because that's how you have car accidents. But we need to take in what we're doing. Well, listen.
Now, I did drive by Saturday night. I was coming back from a wedding. I guess that's when y'all had y'all event.
Yes.
So when all of the lights are on, it glows.
Did it really?
And the colors,
that was that alpha energy. That wasn't just there were no lights on. That was just Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Well, the colors came through. I was like, I've never seen it glow like that. Like that garden atrium.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm telling you, they were lighting it up in there.
Black like me. Black like me. Black like me.
So listen, thank you both for being here. My guests have been co-founder Lilada G and our architect, Rafeeq Asad. From JLA Architects have been my special guest, and the kickoff in this bundling of our experiences in designing and dreaming and fundraising for and building the Center for Black Excellence and Culture. We're going to add a link so that you can get more information about our grand opening. We're also going to have a link so that you can support our work. You can make sure that we can promote Black art and people telling their stories. And you don't have to be Black to support our work. Your corporate support helps to keep this beautiful space affordable for our community. And businesses from the broader community are wanting to have conferences here because they want to support Black communities. Also, if you want to continue to support Black Like Me, because I will continue to have content even after this series is bundled and dropped, and I'd love to have your support. So click the Patreon link, because for as little as $2 a month, you can support the work of Black Like Me podcast and help us to take this message of inspiration and hope and winning around the globe. I'm not doing this by myself. I've got a great team of people like Eli and Ariana, who are my editors and producers and engineers for this podcast. And we all lean in to make this the great podcast that it is. And thank you all for those of you who are listeners. Share this story, write comments, go to where you've downloaded this podcast and write a comment. It's so easy just to consume good information and not reach back in order to give back. So I need you to do something. Here's your marching orders. Click the link and become a supporter. Don't just listen, invest. And then don't just invest, write a comment, because if things are bad, you know how to go make a comment, but we don't pause to say when something's really good. Stop and do that. And share this with someone who needs to be inspired by this, because this is how we become a part of the change we really want to see. So have a great day. And thank you all, listeners and Patreon supporters who are such an important part of Black Like Me podcast. I'm glad to be back in season 12, and it's going to be fantastic. Have a great day.
Black like me.